with Tim Gilbert and Julie Snook. This is Racing Dreams.
Yes, we are very, very excited because the horse racing today is absolutely extraordinary, Jules.
Good morning to you, Timmy.
Superb.
Good morning to you at home. Oh, and it's superb weather as well, just in time for the very first race day of the Everest Carnival. So we've got a cracking show coming up for you today and a cracking day of racing as well.
Absolutely.
First, of course, we pay tribute to Her Majesty and her love of the thoroughbred as we honour her impact on the racing industry and acknowledge those royal connections here in Australia.
Oh, and there's quite a few. We're live to Lismore ahead of next week's Lismore Cup and another big dance qualifier.
And we catch up with the very entertaining and rather talented trainer, Bjorn Baker.
Oh, he's
so great.
He's extravagant, of course. Now, the Australian Turf Club has officially launched Sydney's spectacular 8-week Everest Carnival, and it all kicks off today.
So pop on your finery, grab your mates and start celebrating world-class racing fashion, hospitality and events from now until November 5. All aboard for the hottest ticket in town. Spring racing is back in Sydney and it's feeling fine.
After the last 2 years of not being able to go to the races, and now we've got everyone out enjoying it. Hopefully it's sunny, it's in Sydney, Irish horses are winning, what's not to enjoy?
This year it's big, it's bold and it's unashamedly brilliant. Boasting more than $66 million in prize money, including the world's richest race on turf, the Tighe Everest, and the $10 million Golden Eagle.
Big crowds, good atmosphere, plenty of prize money, and looking forward to hopefully getting out on track and riding a winner.
I think because we've had sort of an interrupted couple of years, I think there's a real excitement for this Spring Carnival. So I think it's all about colour. It's like your boldest looks yet. It's like have as much fun with your outfit as you possibly can.
I think big is always better. I like something big, something dramatic, something glamorous, bit of sparkle and pink. I think pink is definitely on trend. Also the lime greens are coming into fashion. But for me, it's all about the drama and you want to be noticed and you want to be seen.
This is the year that people are going to come out and embrace who they actually are rather than being dictated by what fashion tells them to be.
Spring's an amazing time of the year, and now we get a chance to perhaps be a little bit more strategic with the placement of horses, see horses race more than once.
So, what are we most looking forward to this spring?
Probably Zaki. I think just in general, having the good horses up at this time of year, obviously the carnival, you've got all the atmosphere, all the good Group 1 racing.
Obviously, to get a ride in the Everest would be a big ambition of mine. I'd love to, get a ride in those big races in the carnival, and I'm going to work hard enough to hopefully put myself in a position to get those rides.
I'm looking forward to the Everest. I'm so excited that Nature Trip could defend his title because I think he's going as good as he can, and I reckon we'll see a proper performance like he did in Royal Ascot. But if I can experience that same day as last year, it was something to behold and be awesome to experience again. Looking forward to Profondo, hoping he can get a Group 1 win this prep. Also Fireburn, she's got the Golden Rose, and hoping she can get another Group 1 on her CV.
My food.
And that is what they are all racing for, that stunning Everest trophy. And speaking of Everest, there's been a big announcement from the Inglis camp this week. Let's take a listen.
I'm excited to announce the Inglis runner for the 2022 renewal of the Everest is a daughter of a great Inglis graduate in Choisir, raised on a fantastic farm at Coolmore, trained by Australia's leading training partnership in Kieran Maher and David Eustace, and raced by a partnership that includes great friends of Inglis, including Brad Spicer and Bray Sokolsky. Our runner in 2022 will be Snap Dancer.
Snap Dancer kept going at any old price, and Snap Dancer takes out the Sangster all the way.
Oh, I love it. They come up with some very creative stuff. Our dear friends at Inglis, and the CEO of Bloodstock, Sebastian Hutch, joins us now. Sebastian, I've got my brother's mates are part of the Snap Dancer crew. This is a big announcement.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, I can't say I enjoyed the dancing part of the announcement, but the experience other than that was fantastic. It was really great to deal with Brad and Bray, and to be able to give Kieran and Dave their first opportunity to have a runner in the Everest is really exciting. And I think it's going to be a fun few weeks leading into the big race.
So, Sebastian, tell us a little bit more about this mare. Tell us why Inglis decided to back her and why now as well.
Look, obviously, competition for slots is fierce, or competition for horses for slots is fierce. Everybody wants to try and find the right horse. It's a year-round exercise for us. We're constantly looking at suitable horses or considering suitable horses. We were actually approached by Brad and Bray, and they put forward an idea. We explored the idea and thought actually it's a very, very good one. Her form is fantastic. She's progressive. She's a graduate of our chairman sale. She's actually a graduate of the inaugural chairman sale. She was the second cheapest lot sold at that sale. She was sold for $60,000. So again, wow. It's a fantastic ad for the value that can be found at thoroughbred auctions, and particularly our auctions. And she's won in excess of $2 million from 20 starts, and hopefully she can win plenty more for connections over the coming season, but in particular in the Everest.
And she's coming up against a lot of horses that'll race today in the shorts. It's almost an Everest preview with Nature Strip and Eduardo, and look, even you can't rule out some of the others that haven't been taken yet.
Yeah, look, it's a fascinating dynamic just because there's so many variables in play. I mean, we're going to see a lot of those horses take each other on today. I suppose as a partner in the Snap Dancer experience now, I feel like that could be to her advantage. She'll go to the race fresh in 4 weeks' time. She's very good fresh. She's clocked 107.7 around Randwick. It's one of the quickest 1,200 metre times ever. She ran that as a 4-year-old there. She's won Group 1s on 2 of her last 3 starts. She's very, very talented. And I just wonder whether it can be an advantage to a filly like her, a mare like her, that some of these others are going to be beating themselves up over the next few weeks in the pre-race lead-ups.
And so what are your thoughts on her coming back to the 1,200 metres after that, after the Memsies last week?
Yeah, I think the consensus amongst the people that know her best is actually that's her best distance. She's got fantastic tactical speed, and that's been her advantage in a number of races over 1,400 metres. But, probably the weakest part of her race the other day was the last 100 metres. I think she was getting tired. I think 1,200 metres, a strongly run 1,200 metres is very much to her advantage. She doesn't have to lead. The day she ran quick time at Randwick, she took a sit off a couple of horses that went very, very quickly. So she's versatile in terms of race pattern. She's relatively flexible in terms of ground. She's untried on heavy ground, and obviously the weather forecast is unpredictable, as the Sky Meteorological Department will tell you. But it's one of these things. She's by a stallion in Choisir, out of a mare by Galileo, both of whom would be synonymous with stock that would handle heavy ground traditionally. So she's very quick. So it's always a variable we don't know until you try it. But if it did come up heavy, I don't know if it'd be the same concern for Snap Dancers. It might be for some of the others. And I think Dave and Kieran are very confident that this is a perfect sort of preparation for them, or for her and for them. And touch wood, she gets there on the day in good form, draws a good gate, and it makes for a good spectacle. I mean, I think the one thing's for sure and certain, they're going to go very, very quickly. I mean, there are a lot of very fast horses there. There's going to be no prisoners taken.
Absolutely.
So it'll be a fascinating race to watch.
And Sebastian, of course, you've been a great supporter, sponsor of our program. We speak often, and over the past couple of years, a part of the narrative has been going up to Scone and doing your inspections, getting tested 50 times a day for COVID. It's been quite an interesting journey. It must have been a relief over the past little while to be able to get it done pretty much close to normal.
What's been fantastic is we've travelled across the country and internationally. Some of our team have been to New Zealand, been all around Australia inspecting stock. I mean, we have some people in some of our team in Western Australia next week, having been in Queensland last week, around Victoria, South Australia, Tasmania. All the things that we haven't been able to do for the last couple of years, get out, see our clients, see their horses. We've been still selling horses and selling them very well, but the nature of the interaction has been different. So now we can revert to a more traditional form of interaction. That's great. We've got some new members to our team who are enjoying it and very much looking forward to the sales season in 2023.
And just before we let you go, Sebastian, the breeze-ups are underway in the lead-up to the Inglis ready-to-race sale on October 11. That will be here before we know it.
Yeah, it's a cool sale. You know, the ready-to-race sale. People are buying ready-made race horses. 2-year-old horses have been broken, trained, have demonstrated their capacity to gallop. We had the Warwick Farm breeze-ups yesterday, nearly 90 horses breezed. We have a catalogue of 289. It's the biggest and best catalogue we've ever had. And, you know, the graduates of that sale are performing particularly well. Lots of high-class horses to come out of the sale. Lightsaber, Natoyer, Malkovich, Forgot You. You know, a series of them and a series of nice horses to emerge over the next 3 and 6 months. So if anybody's in the market for a nice horse, that sale on the 11th of October is going to be a good one to keep your eye out for.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's always great to chat, Sebastian, and we will talk real soon.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Julie. Appreciate it.
Well, the world is continuing to honour Queen Elizabeth II after Britain's longest reigning monarch passed away at the age of 96 at her beloved Balmoral.
10 everyday Australians, of course, have joined the Prime Minister in representing Australia there for Monday's funeral for Her Majesty, including champion trainer Gai Waterhouse.
Chris Waller was also invited and in regular contact with the late monarch, who he also raced horses for.
Queen Elizabeth II was so many things to so many people. The outpouring of love over the past week and a half has been a testament to that.
Britain's longest-serving monarch, Queen Elizabeth II, has died at the age of 96.
Charles becomes the new Australian head of state.
She was the very spirit of Great Britain, and that spirit will endure.
How can you encapsulate 70 years of such devoted service? I mean, it's just incredible.
As we mourn, we should also give thanks to the remarkable contribution Her Majesty has made. May she rest in peace.
One of Her Majesty's great loves was the horse, and in particular, the thoroughbred.
Everybody could understand her passion, not just for horses, racehorses, but for animals, life in general. She had a general well-being and care for everybody on this planet, and it's touched so many hearts.
The late monarch would talk to our number one trainer, Chris Waller, most Saturday nights. Such was her interest in our industry. And of course, Chris racing one of the Queen's horses, Chalkstream.
The first time I had the colours, I was very emotional. So it certainly touches so many people, jockeys, trainers, strappers. It's just an absolute honour.
So many key figures in our industry have a link to the late monarch.
I did work for Her Majesty at her own stud. She's got a stud farm called the Royal Studs, so I was very fortunate to work there. Did a foaling season and then a breaking season, so it was a very special place at Sandringham, and obviously was fortunate enough to meet her several times, and there'll always be very special memories. And being lucky enough to see her with her own horses firsthand, you see that real genuine passion for the horses that she had.
Anyone who ever saw the Queen around horses knew that her affection was so genuine, so touching, so very real.
She always looked very natural and very at home with her horses, so I'm sure if she wasn't the Queen, I'm sure she probably would have gone down the path of working with horses, who knows. But a lot of very special memories that everybody has got within the racing industry with her.
As we know, the Queen visited Australia on many occasions, 16 in all, and came to Randwick 3 times. Her first visit was in 1954, not long after her coronation, and we saw the creation of the Queen Elizabeth Stakes.
Her Majesty is obviously thrilled by Blue Ocean's display of staying speed.
Now, one of the real showpieces of the Sydney Autumn.
Winch takes the lead from Garlo's shop, and here's a second Queen Elizabeth. This is a silver jubilee moment.
It was just 7 months ago, in our last series of Racing Dreams, that we celebrated the 30th anniversary of a very special royal visit. It was February 22, 1992. Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip were at one of our most famous sporting venues, Randwick Racecourse. And on that day, the Queen officially granted permission for the course to be known as Royal Randwick.
I remember the day vividly because it was really hot and there was a few jokes in the press room about how the Queen would handle it, but
did not have a bead of sweat as her usual aplomb, went about her business. And it's interesting, Tim, because the old press room is literally just behind us on that first level, and we could all see the Queen literally in front of us in the old mounting yard. And she held court that day, so to speak. And where we're standing here, Tim, this was just packed. There was security everywhere, but this was all packed. The grandstand, the old heritage stand was full. The old Kiwi stand, which is now long gone, was full. It was a huge crowd that day on a very, very hot February day in Sydney, but it was just an extraordinary moment in this history of this race course to have the Queen here literally to open Royal Randwick as we know it today.
And who could ever forget Royal Randwick's greatest day? Just a few short years ago, the day our member of equine royalty, Winx, won the Queen Elizabeth Stakes, marking her final race win and the last of her incredible 35 straight.
Kluger going up the inside. Happy Clubber can't go on. Winx is 2 lengths clear. Kluger sticks on. Then came Hartnell, but she's well clear. Winx inside the final 100 metres. Today we farewell an Australian icon, the greatest of all time. Winx wins her third. Queen Elizabeth beats Kluger.
And as we know, the mighty mare's trainer, the man with such a special bond with Queen Elizabeth II.
It's a very sad time. We've got to remember Her Majesty and everything she's done for the Commonwealth and even the rest of the world. It's been obvious to see how many people she touched.
It is great to have your company on Racing Dreams. Well, Sydney's Everest Carnival officially gets underway today with George Main Stakes Day at Royal Randwick.
And our next guest is rather familiar with both. He has been a 2-time winner of the Everest, and with Chris Waller has Nature Strip in this year's race. He, of course, is one of the owners of a little horse called Winx. Good morning to you, Mr. Peter Tighe.
Morning, Julie. Morning, Tim.
Pete, we just saw some vision. We ran a package, of course, with the Queen's close affinity to racing and in particular our country, and we saw your mighty mare do it again, and I don't care, and Julie and I were just chatting about it, how many times you watch it, you still evoke those same emotions, and I can only wonder what it's like for you standing there on the Gold Coast listening to it all.
Yeah, no, look, never get sick of watching those videos or listening to any of the press or anything to do with Winx. You know, she's going to take a long, long time to forget about her, I think, many generations.
Well, we know the Queen herself was captivated with our Queen of the Turf in Winx. I believe the Queen was gifted something following Winx's last race win. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, after Winx won the last Queen Elizabeth race, Chris Waller got the 4 shoes that she wore during that race and presented one to each of the owners and one for himself, which he duly took to London and presented to the Queen when he went over to have lunch with her at Ascot in 2019.
And you and Chris have got a great partnership, and you've raced horses for quite some time, won a couple of Everests. You've got a real chance, a real chance, of course, of winning another Everest, and a hot pot today in the shorts. Him and the Queen had a great relationship, didn't they? They spoke, as we mentioned in the package, almost weekly.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, no, he was always, right up there with the Queen. I think she was fascinated by Winx and then by Chris. And he tells some good stories when he had lunch with her at the castle there in 2019, I think. And he told me that he was feeding the corgis under the table with the Queen. So he had a lot of fun with her when he was there.
He's always so humble, so you can never get the full extent of the story out of Chris. But speaking of Winx, she's just turned 11 and she's about to become a mum. How is the mighty mare?
No, she's fantastic. We've had footage over the last couple of days from the farm, and last night, or yesterday evening, we got a report from the vet who gave her a once-over and said that she's in perfect condition. Hopefully some action will happen over the next 2 or 3 weeks, and we get a nice young foal to make her a mum.
Absolutely. Well, there's very few races that Winx didn't win. Of course, it's George Main Stakes Day today.
Yeah, no, that evokes a few memories. We've had a few a few good years there at the George Main Stakes with Winks, and many races, race after race during each of the carnivals with us. So they just bring back great memories when we go to these carnivals or have these race days.
All right, well, speaking of race days, let's get into today's race day. Nature Strip resumes today ahead of the Everest. Everyone is just so excited to have him back here. It's rather fitting that he's back here at Royal Randwick today as well, given his experience in the UK over the UK summer. How is he? How's he looking? What are the expectations?
Well, all reports are that he had a great holiday over in the UK. He's come back, hasn't missed a beat. Chris is very, very happy with the way that he's going, and today will be the last start that he has before the Everest. So today's really just to clean out the pipes and get him tuned up and ready, and prepare him to the last second with Chris, which he'll do for the Everest. So we're really looking forward to today, but in great anticipation for the Everest in a couple of weeks' time.
He's an amazing horse, isn't he? Like, close up. We had the opportunity to have a lunch with Chris the other day, and we went in and met Nature Strip, and Josie, my wife, met Nature Strip, and Julie knows, and I think Peter knows how much she loves horses. We nearly lost her there. She wanted to stay, but she was commenting. She knows the what horses and their physiques, and she was trying to explain it to me. But he is such a ball of muscle, isn't he?
Oh, he is. He's just grown into the perfect sprinter. He's a bit Winks-like, where he's just got better and better with age. His temperament's got better. His racing manners have really come to the fore, and he proved it all when he went to the UK that he is the best sprinter in the world. We're more than happy to have him in our slot, and I think he's going to be up there, and everyone has to beat him. I don't think he's got to prove anything. He's just got to do what he does best, and hopefully it'll all work out on the day.
28 days until this year's Tab Everest. Can you see anyone beating him when he's at his best? Or should I say, who do you think is the biggest challenger when it comes to this year's race so far?
Oh, it's hard to say. I mean, the same good horses are in the race, and it'll be luck in running on the day. His old foe, Eduardo, will certainly give him a run for his money. And a couple of new ones there with Mizzou and Lost and Running, Classic Legend. I mean, you can't write any of them off, because on their day, they're all pretty much as good as each other. So it depends. We've got 28 days to see what the weather's going to do, and barrier draws and things like that. So it's going to make it very interesting for the next 4 weeks.
Oh, yeah, Chuck Snapdancer into the mix. It is interesting, but as you say, the one to catch is the mighty Nakoni Gelding, who is a hot pot today, and I think that probably the best bet of the day. Always good to chat, Pete.
Thanks a lot for having me on, guys.
Thanks, Pete. Well, the other entertaining Bjorn Baker is having a rather good start to the spring, with several wins under his belt already, including in the Shirako Stakes with Shades of Roses last week.
Yes, Jules, he'll be a little nervous today with his own Everest hopeful, Overpass lining up in the star-studded shorts. I ventured out to Warwick Farm for a chat, and amongst a number of things we spoke about, that upset win by Kiss the Bride the other day.
Kiss the Bride trying to push off between runners. Wild Chap still there, the outside. Wicklow getting a rails run now. Kiss the Bride goes through the middle and won. Kiss the Bride, I think, beat Wild Chap.
Okay, waiting for Bjorn Baker. He's coming down right now. I must say, I think this has got home unfancy, because you were not glowing about this horse when we spoke to you pre-race earlier in the day.
Yeah, I gave him no chance. A couple of tipsters did. Take my hat off to them. I thought he'd really struggle in the track, as much as I am struggling.
Where have you run from?
Oh, you wouldn't believe it. Traffic's bad. City with the train strikes, everything.
Well, you were right up in the stables, weren't you, up at the box right at the top of the grandstand, so you had to move quickly to get to the interview.
Yeah, I did indeed, and it's a fair way to go, especially if you get out of sync with the elevator. So no, it was a fair way to go. I had to cut tracks, and that's probably, I wouldn't normally watch the race from up there, but I wasn't confident at all that he'd be in the finish. So I got a great kick out of it, as you can see.
Absolutely. You've had a good 12 months, haven't you?
Yeah, things are going great. I love Sydney racing. I love being here. I do what I love every day. So in a really, really lucky position, saying that it's very busy. It never stops. And of course, coming up to spring, we want to make an impact.
You've just brought a horse out from France as well.
Yeah, we're very excited about a new import called Baby Rider in conjunction with OTI Racing, and they found him, and he's a very well performed. He's won a Group 2 in France, so excited to get him up and going too. And you need the firepower in Sydney racing. It's so competitive week in, week out. It's as good, if not better, than anywhere in the world.
Good win the other day, Shades of Rose.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting, but she just keeps raising the bar. She keeps improving. Physically, she looks better now than she has at any time in the preparation, and she's a lovely laid-back mare, and she bucked, of course, first start this preparation, so she's come a long way from there, and she's just doing everything so well at the moment. She's been doing it very easily, and I think she's in great order, and it would definitely put her up into contention to maybe look at a race like the Everest Consolation, and who knows, if she happened to win, maybe she could be in there as an outside chance to possibly get a slot. Who knows?
But you do have another horse in action in the shorts. It's going to be up against all the Broadway acts in Nature Strip and Classic Legend and Marzu. You could just name them all. Overpass. What do you think?
Yeah, it's going to be so tough in terms of the quality of race, and yeah, I think you could mount a pretty good case. This will be the best sprint so far anywhere in the world, and it's only a lead up for the Everest. So really excited to get him there. He's going to have to perform really well to get into the race and to, I guess, put his case forward to make the Everest. So there's nowhere to hide at this time of year against these class of sprinters, but I think he's going really well. He's trialled well. He looks great. He performed very well in the autumn, and I think he's definitely better now than he was then.
Has your phone been ringing? You've always got it on 24/7.
Yeah, I have got it on, and yeah, there's a bit of interest, but I think people now are just holding back, and they're waiting to see that race day form, and there's no form like race day form.
What about your spring? Tell us about your spring. If it's going to be the perfect Bjorn Baker spring, how's it go?
Well,
good weather, hopefully.
Yeah, well, the Everest would be a pretty good start, and hopefully I've got one or two horses that can get into the Golden Eagle as well. That's another big race, of course, late October. The big dance on Melbourne Cup Day in Sydney. I'm lucky enough to have one qualified for that race. Shame on us. He won the Orange Cup, and looking forward to getting him there. And Tighe is also, I think she's qualified for the Little Dance, which is the smaller of the two, but I think she should be able to go there, be very competitive, and we've got one or two hopefuls for the Golden Eagle. President's going well, and then I'm hopeful that there's one or two that'll come out of the woodwork and put the who's up, so to speak.
And the big thing, of course, here at Warwick Farmers, if you win a Group 1, you're buying prawns. You want to get to the seafood markets a few times.
Yeah, I want to get to the seafood markets a couple of times at least. There's still a few people that I think they owe from last season as well. So, no, that's the plan. If you've got to pay for the prawns, it's well worth doing.
It is a great carnival, isn't it? We all get excited when all the good horses are coming back, and they are back now. And we go all the way through to November.
Yeah, it doesn't stop now. There's that many new races, and the stake money's just outstanding. So it's absolutely the best place in the world to be involved. And I've been in Sydney now, I think, 11 years, and I'm so glad to be here.
Well, he makes you smile every time you look at him.
Honestly, that vision of the door gets me every time. He is so great.
I was like in the old days of being late for updating sport. Here's Tim Gilbert, and you were sort of somewhere else in the building in radio, and you're running.
And it's the puffing as well.
Turning the mic off. Yeah, you just get caught.
He's so great. All right, stay with us. Dale Daisy Thomas is up next for your points bet markets for the day. Plus, we cross live to Lismore, where the Turf Club is back up and running towards their biggest Lismore Cup day on record. Welcome back. You're watching Racing Dreams. The star-studded shorts are being run at Royal Randwick today.
Yeah, I've been talking about Prince Naconia horse. I've got a very small share in race one today. Well, at least you know he's a chance. And joining us for all the latest markets is the great Daisy Thomas, of course, from PointsBet. And Daisy is nervous about Collingwood taking on the Swans, but he's got all the latest racing.
I certainly do, Tim and Julie. Thank you very much. The Pies, well, I think they just get it done this afternoon, Timmy. Get it over your mob, the Swans. But we're here to talk about racing. We are another week closer to some of the biggest races of the spring. And again, we see some absolute stars going around today. Better news for the races up at Royal Randwick, with it looking like they'll get a decent racing surface for the first time in what seems like forever. Let's kick it off. The feature up there at Randwick, the George Main Group 1 weight for age over 1600. Now, this was shaping up as a genuine match race between Zaki and Animo, but now we have been told that Annabelle Neesham has scratched Zaki, citing had the hard run first up in the trying conditions and will wait a week to run him in the Group 1 Underwood. That said, though, the markets have been absolutely flipped on their heads with deductions everywhere. Animo is your very short price favourite, $1.70 now. Fangirl, $6.50, pretty well found outside the favourite. Hinge there at $11, as is Ice Bath. Profondo, $14, as is Duis, and $20 the rest of the field. But those scratchings has the PointsBet punters absolutely chock-a-block full of confidence now that Animo will get the job done at the short quote. We then roll across to race 8, which is the Group 2, the shorts, the one you were just talking about. It weight for age, 1,100 metres. Now, this is a serious race. Obviously, the key lead up to the Everest, and the last two winners both ran in this race. And all the favourites for this year's race are in the field. Nature Strip back, having its first run in Australia since the absolute demolition job in Ascot at Royal Ascot over there. We'll go up your short price favourite there at $2.10. Eduardo won first up, defeated Nature Strip in this race last year, is your second favourite at $4. Marzu, how good is this young emerging star going? Won 5 straight last prep, $7.50. Lost and Runnings had some support at $9.50 and double figure odds the rest of the field. And of course, that will be a big race, as we'll be waiting to see if Animo or Nature Strip can get it done, or will it be an upset? Compelling viewing either way, guys.
Yes, and a big 9-race card down at Caulfield as well.
Yeah, it certainly is. And the weather, well, it's been questionable at best over the last 24 hours. Predicted to be a little bit of much the same today. So we'll wait and see whether there be downgrades, upgrades. There is wind early, so there may be an upgrade, but then expected to absolutely hose down around 3 o'clock. So keep an eye on that. But let's have a couple of look at the features down here, starting with race 6, the Foundation Cup, over 2,000 metres at Group 3 level. Now, this race, of course, is the golden ticket into the Caulfield Cup. Last year's winner of this race, Nonconformist, ran an awesome second in that Caulfield Cup. Gold Trip, $4.40, starts your favourite. An interesting runner, only its second start in Australia, with lots of placings in Group 1 level over in France. Uncle Bryn there, been easy out to $7. Emissary's been well found early into $7. Crystal Pegasus, $8. Shiraz there, $9.50. The rest of the field at your double figure quote. The next race we take a look at is the Group 1 Sir Rupert Clarke Stakes over 1,400 metres. The full field of 16 to do battle. Interesting that I Wish I Win was an emergency, would have been the favourite, but did not get a start with no scratching. Showmanship, $5.50 there. Tuvalu, $5.50 as well. Never missed a top 2 from 11 starts, so been a friend of the punters. Arton, $6.50. I Am Superman, been well found at the double figure quote. Halal, $12. And Graceful Girl, $16, has had a nibble there. If you are going to have a bet, of course, today on any of the racing across Caulfield, Rosehill, or anywhere else around Australia, download that PointsBet app today. It only takes a minute of your time to download. As always, gamble responsibly. Faster, easier, better. That's PointsBet. And Timmy, Julie, go those hot pies, eh?
No, go the Swans, mate.
Go the Swannies. All right, we are heading to northern New South Wales now, ahead of another big dance qualifier. This time it's in Lismore, and that is where we find Mark Oaten, chairman at the Lismore Turf Club. Good morning to you.
Morning, Julie and Tim.
Yeah, good morning, buddy. And it's been such a tough old time. How do you find today? What's the weather like today?
Today's pretty warm. Chance of a few showers around, but it's been getting drier and warmer, which is good. Means the track's starting to dry out a bit more.
How is the region recovering? What is the feeling locally following the floods? And I suppose talk us through the damage at the racecourse as well. We saw those extraordinary images earlier this year. What impact has this had operationally as well for you?
It's been huge. The damage is massive. It's not only Lismore, it's Casino, it's Woodburn, Corrickite, it's all the little towns as well. Some have been just wiped out. And there is a lot of work yet to be done to get things back going. Even Lismore, half the town still in rebuild mode. With the club, we've got a lot of damage. If you've seen the photos of the front of the club there, where the members area is upstairs, that's about 14.5 metres from the surface of the track. Water's never gone in there, and when you sort of stand up there and look at the volume of water that was just in that area, it's hard to imagine that we had that much water there. So it's enormous. There's still enormous work to do yet.
And when times get tough, it's amazing to see the generosity in human beings, isn't it, and organisations. I know people like the ATC Foundation have helped out a lot.
Yeah, they've been great. I've been talking to Dave McGrath down at the ATC and his guys. They actually had me down there. I've got a small interest in Fatus, who ran there a couple of weeks ago. She's been really good for us. So, then he's coming up. We're continually talking, and they're there to help us as well. Country racing have been fantastic. Bob Pavitt and his guys with Brian Sharman in Sydney have been helping out. Racing New South Wales have been there to help us as well. So, everyone's working to the goal of getting us back to where we were before.
Well, Mark, the Lismore Cup takes place next week. Falls on Thursday, which is now a public holiday. How's the team feeling ahead of the Cup? Are there still tickets available? I suppose this is the day that everyone's really ready to come out for.
That's right. It wasn't going to be a half day or a holiday. The council decided not to do it because they were worried about the town and whether it could afford any more time off after the floods. But magically it appeared, courtesy of the Queen. And it's not only Lismore having the holiday, it's the whole of the northern rivers. So we're expecting what could be a huge crowd. We just sort of we're gearing up for whatever happens. It could be massive. So we're hoping that.
Yeah, nothing lifts the spirits of a region than a big race day, and the winner and runner-up become eligible for the $2 million big dance. It's very exciting, and as you say, the weather getting better, so we should get a reasonable surface.
We should, yeah. It's a soft 5 at the moment. There's prediction a little bit of rain on Wednesday. I'm just hoping that it goes away. It stays fine for next week. But the big dance has been a massive boost to country racing all throughout this year. Just giving that opportunity of better class horses in the country, an opportunity to race in Sydney in a massive prize money race. So we're hoping that our cup winner gets to race in there, depending on their benchmark rating. But we'll soon find out in a week or so.
Well, let's hope Northern New South Wales comes out in support of the big dance and has a great day. Thank you so much for joining us, Mark. We appreciate your time.
Thanks very much.
Have a quiet one for us.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Stay with us on Racing Dreams. Why the remaining Everest slot holders might be keeping an eye on the sky. That, plus much more coming up.
Welcome back. You're watching Racing Dreams. Well, Sydney experienced its wettest January to August period on record, and things aren't about to dry out this spring, with the Bureau advising of a third consecutive La Nina for Australia's east coast.
But our fingers are crossed.
Exactly.
Of course. Our fingers are crossed. So does this change the dynamic of the world's richest race on turf, and what does this mean for the remaining slot holders?
I've only had one heavy track in the past 5 runnings of the Everest. That, of course, was won by Red Cell. I guess what you've got to take into consideration with heavy tracks is Randwick. It can throw up the odd curveball in terms of how the track might play.
Nature Strip wants his piece of history today.
Nature Strip is a pretty accomplished wet tracker. He's a high cruising horse. He likes to get out in front, get into his rhythm, but whether it's wet, whether it's dry, whether it's heavy, soft or good, Nature Strip does Nature Strip, so it won't affect him.
Nassid Go and Eduardo, and the 9-year-old dashes to the lead and dashes clearly at the 175.
Eduardo, he is also a horse that is really effective in heavy conditions. He's going as well as ever, as we saw first up in the Concord. Wet track completely fine with him, and similar case to Nature Strip. He's a horse with a really high cruising speed. He just clicks through his gears and he travels through the conditions so well.
But there's nowhere to go on Masked Crusader. He has to duck and weave. I think he's found a gap now. Standout went to the front. Masked Crusader's charging through the centre.
Masked Crusader doesn't love the wet. He's one of the horses that probably comes onto a little cloud of doubt if the track does get into the heavy range. He's a horse with an electric turn of foot. He is one-dimensional in that he gets right back in the run, and we do find that on these testing tracks, it's very, very hard for horses to make 10 lengths up on the horses that are on top of the speed.
Marzu's in front from Paolele, Marzu.
The wet track will hold no fears for Marzu. 4 from 4 on heavy ground. He'll skip through it. Doesn't quite have that natural speed of your Eduardos and your Nature Strips, but he just parks in behind those and peels off their back. And if he's good enough, he'll get his chance.
Lost and running a length and a half clear to Standout, overpass, fighting out the miners, but Lost and Running extends away.
Lost and Running, he's a horse that's relatively unexposed on heavy ground, so he does have a victory on heavy track, albeit it was in benchmark 78 company. I think it was early in his campaign. There probably is somewhat of a query, but John O'Shea will have him very fit come grand final day, and I think he'll get through it, but there is a little bit of an unknown, a bit of uncertainty with Lost and Running. All of these slot holders are going to have their eye on the sky. It's funny with these contracts at the moment, they're so tight that a lot of them do allow for them to get out if the track is a certain rating. So I imagine they'd have a short list of horses that have potentially skipped through the going, and I'd imagine that even Shelby 66 is on that list. He's a horse that's going to get better and better as he gets into his campaign. We know that Danny Williams has been pretty upfront in terms of he's a horse that he doesn't work a lot at home. He does his fitness on the track, and he's a horse that absolutely swims. So Shelby 66 will be in there. Big parade for Mark Newnham. He's shown a liking to heavy tracks in the past. He gets through it no problem whatsoever. And even Espiona, does she love it? Not convinced, but she does get through it. We saw that at the back end of last campaign, and she's a mare now with Chris Waller, who has untold upside. So she's a potential candidate as well, given that she does get through the ground. I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest to see that this makeup of this Tab Everest field isn't completely nailed down until a week or so out, because there are going to be a few slot holders that are going to keep the powder very, very dry with one eye on the sky.
Yeah, and fingers crossed we get good weather. Wouldn't it be wonderful? Today is absolutely beautiful. And resident tipster Brad Gray joins us ahead of George Maiden Stakes Day at Royal Randwick. You're getting a lot of Brad Gray today.
So
which
much,
I'm sure
Brad.
our
Never enough,
viewers
Brad.
love.
Yeah, good morning, guys. I apologise for the last 10 minutes or so, but you'll have to bear with me for the next 5 minutes or so. I can't believe we're talking about wet weather and heavy tracks, and look at the day. It is absolutely gorgeous. So long may this continue, and fingers crossed, those forecasting the weather are completely wrong. Anyway, it's wishful thinking.
Well, Brad, it's 28 days until the Tab Everest. As you just said then in that story, you don't even expect a full field to be announced, say, a week out from the race, which we have seen in the past before. What do we expect out of the shorts today? Do you think there's going to be any Everest contenders sort of staking their claim?
Yeah, well, the race is going to get a shake-up as far as the market goes, because we get to see the main contenders. So you look at the market as it is today, and those at the pointy end will be showing their wares today. Now, horses like Lost and Running, horses like Classic Legend, I don't necessarily think they're winning chances today in the shorts, but they'll want to do enough to just suggest that they're right on track for a month or so's time. Nature Strip, Eduardo, they'll be up there, and the market suggests that they'll be hard enough to beat today. So win, lose or draw, Nature Strip probably remains favourite. Then where do we go to outside of that? I think it's an important race for Godolphin. We know that they have a slot. They did have eyes for Andermatt. It was a little bit disappointing there first up behind Eduardo. He gets another chance today. Does the like of Shelby 66 improve enough to just keep a few slot holders maybe on edge, thinking that if we do get a genuine heavy track come Tab Everest Day, could very much be the party boy comes into the mix. So a few little bits and pieces to play out, but I do tend to agree with that sentiment, Jules, in that I don't think we're going to get a real guide on the makeup of this field until the last couple of days, because slot holders are going to wait, they're going to wait, they're going to wait. They've waited this long, and nothing's going to stop them from waiting another couple of extra weeks.
Yeah, we're moving into a pretty reasonable surface too, aren't we? Soft 7 late yesterday. You'd expect a soft 6 by the time race 1 comes about in, say, a couple of hours' time. We've got the George Main Stakes as well. The Animo, very hard to beat in this one.
Yeah, he is. Unfortunately, we've lost Zaki, which looked a humdinger, didn't it? Animo v Zaki. But now we've got Animo still there. He's one of the best horses in the country at the moment. He proved that first up in the Wink Stakes to become one of the few horses that won Group 1s at 2, 3 and 4. You don't see many horses do that. So tactics are interesting in this race because not only do we lose the quality of Zaki in the race, we lost the natural leader. So what does that mean for James McDonald? I think he just rides him like the best horse in the race and goes forward. If he doesn't lead himself, he probably sits outside the lead. So I expect him to win the race. The market is forecasting that, but I also expect Hinged to run a cheeky little effort here. From an inside draw, the blinker's gone for the first time, out to the mile. So if $1.60 is a bit skinny for you to get involved, maybe have a Quinella and throw Hinged into the mix.
Kingston Town Stakes over 2,000 metres. Who are you liking?
Yeah, it's very different to the sprinters here. So these are the horses that are on the Metrop path over the 2,400 metres in a couple of weeks' time. Benno, his 2 runs back this time in have been marvellous. Fantastic horse, real sense of timing about him. They've been against the track pattern as well. So third up, 2,000 metres. He's spot on and should be going very close today, guys.
Best bet of the day?
Yeah, best bet for me comes up in the T-Rose. That's the fillies feature, Zoo Gotcha for Chris Waller. Now, we saw her when the Silver Shadow there first up. She was exceptional. They backed off. They kept her on the fresh side. She had a little tick over trial since. The market has rallied towards her, but I don't think there'll be any excuses. And as we head towards the Flight Stakes, I think she stamps herself today as very much the horse to beat. I didn't touch on a tip for the shorts, but I'm with Eddie. You know that I love Eduardo, the old boy. He showed there first up that he's returned as well as ever. And maybe that little fitness edge that he has on Nature Strip today could just get the better of him in that last 100 metres, because we know if it turns into a dogfight, that's when Eduardo comes into his own.
And just really quickly, Brad, your roughies for today as well.
Yeah, a couple at odds I think will run well. Race 4, number 1, War Eternal for Bjorn Baker. Second up, I think he can get himself into the finish at around that $10, $11 price. And one in the lucky last, the Get Out Stakes. Race 10, number 3, Never Talk. We're hoping for her sake that this track doesn't dry out too much because she is a wet tracker, but she has a good fresh record and she's pretty classy.
Do you like Prince Nakani quickly?
I do. I've got him second, Tim. I think there's still one Cozzy spot left, isn't there? So you never know.
You never know. All right, Bradley, have a good one.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you to you at home, and thank you to our sponsors, Racing New South Wales, Arrowfield and PointsBet. Arrowfield, that's exactly where you're headed this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Off the track, then off to Arrowfield, and hopefully with a bit more money in my pocket, go to Prince Nakani. See you next week.